DC cares about statehood. We're passionate about it, and we're not going to stop fighting for it.
Washington, D.C.'s decades-long mission to become the 51st state is gaining more momentum than ever.
Connecting the people of DC that, we are somehow, indistinguishable from the federal government. I mean, it's a ridiculous idea.
The movement is deeply personal to many Washingtonians.
DC statehood means fairness to me. It means equality and having your voice heard in Congress.
DC's population of close to 700,000 citizens, which is larger than several states, does not have a vote in Congress. DC's delegate, Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton, can draft legislation but cannot vote. And there is no such representative voice in the Senate.
We need to have those votes in order to make things happen.
Congress also has exclusive jurisdiction over the district, meaning it has the power to overturn any local laws.
But there have been so many attempts over the years to try to block DC from implementing its own laws, using its own money just because it's a politically sensitive issue.
DC is also a historically black city, and many see the lack of representation as a form of whiter oppression.
Folks in the statehood movement certainly see this as a bigger issue, not about who DC voted for in the 2020 election or who DC would vote for 20, 30 years from now. It's more a question of fairness. It's a question of equality. And that's so much more important than a short-term political gain that you're going to get in the next election.
The House of Representatives recently passed a bill, H.R. 51, that would grant D.C. statehood.
On this vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 208. The bill is passed.
But it faces an uphill battle in the Senate.
I don't think that it will pass in the Senate. Whether it should or shouldn't, I guess, is a different question.
With an evenly split Senate and the filibuster potentially blocking the bill from even being brought to a vote, statehood may not be as close as it seems.
The fight goes to the Senate now, and I think the biggest challenge is, are you going to be able to get to 50 votes, or are you going to be able to put aside the filibuster for something that will make a lasting difference for people's lives here?
Although most bills just need a simple majority, or 51 votes to pass, the Senate's filibuster rule requires 60 members to end debate and move to a vote. The issue has added to renewed calls for the nuclear option, abolishing the filibuster completely.
I think that I'd be supportive of it here, and not think that it would come to haunt the Democratic Party in the future.
Republicans have blasted statehood progress as unconstitutional and a power grab from the Democratic majority, who would likely benefit from more seats if D.C. did become a state.
Let's be clear what H.R. 51 is all about. It's about Democrats adding 2 new progressive U.S. senators to push a radical agenda championed by the Squad to reshape America into the socialist utopia they always talk about.
The way I would respond to something like that is it is only a partisan issue if, number one, if Republicans want to give up any hope of reaching out to voters in D.C.
In another historical step towards statehood, the White House released its first ever statement of written support on April 20th.
This whole notion that this is just some political game that Democrats are playing that you hear from the opponents of statehood now is just nonsense. I mean, if you know the history of all the things DC residents have tried for decades and decades and decades to try to get their rights, I mean, please.
This is McKenna Sievertson with American University.